line from Casino to Mowalemba is one that I've kind of latched on to because I was quite concerned about the cost that had been estimated for reinstating this line. And so I was having a deeper look into what's happened and looking at literature and papers and finding out costs of similar lines in other places. And I found that the estimate that New South Wales government has made to reinstate this line came out to be about $6.5 million a kilometre, which is humongous. It's for the 130 kilometre line, which is already there, really. It was $900 million, which of course wasn't feasible. So the cost-benefit analysis suggested, no, we can't do this. So we have this idea of the rail trail, is that what it's called? The horse riding and the cycling for 130 kilometers. I mean, I don't understand that. Maybe you can explain to me a little bit more, how that's going to be a tourist attraction. Anyway, we can talk about that later. But when I did my research, I found out that in Victoria, and not very long ago, maybe 5 years ago, similar lines had actually been reinstated and trains are running on them, and they were done at a cost of $125,000 to $250,000 per kilometer. So I am working with a journalist who is a little bit interested in this and wants to investigate it a little bit further. And I've spoken to many engineers, given I have a civil engineering background, who are telling me that the government, I guess there are a number of reasons why costs blow out. And one of the reasons is that huge risk factors are added to budgets. And again, the reason for that is that government departments over time have been losing engineering expertise. So they don't actually do their numbers from zero. So they don't start from first principles. They might look at some other line that was constructed. And in Australia, really, there's no regional train line has been constructed in the last, I don't know how many years they've been established. So they might look at a line in the urban area and say, this is how much it costs, then divide that cost by per kilometer, and then add a factor of 30% on top of that. And that is just, I guess, avoiding risk, which is not the right way to cost transport projects. And the more I talk to people, the more I find out as well is that there has been a long-term bias. I haven't investigated this, but treasury bias of roads against rail. But you can kind of understand that is what's happening when Tony Abbott took his position as our Prime Minister last year. He basically took away every single cent of funding for railways. It's all roads. All the federal funding that's happening at the moment is for roads. And we're seeing one of those massive projects happening in Sydney. You may have heard of the Western Extol Road. So it's a huge road, and it will be tolled, which is going to cost us $12 billion over the next 20 years. And basically, when you look at it, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's really 1950s philosophy. They're really, and we've come out and we've campaigned hard on that. We're getting a lot of traction with the community on it. Just in the last 3 months, I've spoken at 4 community rallies. And the community got really interested when it was announced that 100 private properties would be acquired for that particular road. We can have good light rail, cycling, as well as railway solutions for that for less than half the cost. And there are transport NGOs and transport experts who've actually done that costing. And one of the implications of this is that once $12.5 billion have been invested in this, there's not much else left for either Sydney or for regional New South Wales. I think that's the point I'm really trying to put out there. This is a lot of money for a 1950s solution. Even Los Angeles, which was so addicted to those 10-lane highways, decided last year that those were really bad decisions that they made, and really we should invest in public transport solutions. And and I've questioned the government a lot on it. We put in freedom of information because what the government has done is not release the business case for this particular highway. They have not released why this is priority. Public has no idea except like a very glossy, pretty picture brochure which says this will be fantastic. And that's what the public is now really frustrated about as well, that there is no transparency in decision making. And that's another theme that's panning out. It's this project, there's another 8.5 billion rail project. You would think rail project is good, but that rail project is not, because from what we found, it's pretty much a private shuttle service, which is a single-decker line which doesn't integrate with Sydney's current double-deck system. So the plan is to have, over the next 20 years, a whole private line. And that's not what public transport is about. Newcastle, similarly, they're cutting back the railway line which goes right into the heart of Newcastle, so they're truncating it. And they want light rail. They said, we want light rail on it. Again, we have asked why, give us some analysis of your studies which suggest that this is a good thing and there's nothing coming. So that is a real problem panning out, and I think communities everywhere are very frustrated and are demanding transparency in decision making. So that's a good thing. I think when it comes to that, communities do stand up, and that's exactly what's happening in the layer as well. The people are standing up and saying, well, we won't have a bar of this. So although kind of, you know, one side is, I guess, pretty negative, there's always a positive you can look into. And we've been quite vocal and working with communities, and I know some of the train on our tracks people are here today. So it'd be great to talk to you as well, and to how to move this particular project forward. So I might just stop there, and then let's